Good morning, everyone. It's Aderyn here. Really good to be with you here this morning on Counties Life Connect. It's been a great week as we've looked at God's heart for each generation, and we've looked at the different perspectives from this, for like a primary school perspective, a secondary school, and a teacher's perspective. And it's my real privilege to share with you from a parent's perspective. And you may think, why on earth is she in her car? And I just thought that this would be the ideal place, because I have literally just got back from picking my two little girls up from school. The one has gone back into year 2, and then our youngest has just had her intro session for primary school. So these are really, as you can imagine, emotional, hard times, worrying times, but at the same time, you know, you want to be filled with joy for your children going off and embarking on their education journey. It's just a very mixed emotion time. So I just thought it was really adequate that that you would just see me kind of in the throes of motherhood, in the throes of parenthood. This is the reality of it. Carpooling, running back and forth from here, there, everywhere, you know, juggling time, juggling schedules. But in amidst all of that, the real privilege of parenthood is that our children are a gift from God. And it was Psalm 144 verse 12 that I wanted to look at, and another verse a bit later on, and I'll just read that to you. It says, "Then our sons in their youth will be like well-nurtured plants, and our daughters will be like pillars carved to adorn a palace." So the well-nurtured plants really got me thinking about how I am with plants. Stay with me. Because I have yet to manage a successful garden, but I love pottering around, and I love my house plants dearly, but it can seem pretty overwhelming to keep 36 little house plants alive, when especially it takes me, you know, so much energy to actually just keep 2 children alive as well. But I'm slowly beginning to understand botany, and I always, when I see these little pot plants in the shop and in the garden centre, I can hear them calling to me, you know, buy me, you know, nothing's going to go wrong, I'll survive this time. That kind of gives you an idea of how successful my pot planting forays have been. But anyway, my track record isn't great with plants. But then there was the plant that changed everything. So my grandmother had this most beautiful house fern, and she kept it in the foyer of her house, and we all admired it, and it grew every year so much, and it was just thriving that she always had to split it, and she would give us, you know, little cuttings from it. And inevitably all the cuttings that I received just failed miserably, and then my grandmother passed away, and I don't know what my family were thinking, but they thought it would be a good idea to give this beloved fern to me. So I was just, you know, this is it, I have to do well with this. And the plant did do well for a while, and then the telltale signs began, but this loss was not going to be okay. So you know, I thought I should do what every, you know, self-respecting woman should do. I googled it. So, and then I realized I'd been going through the motions with my houseplants, you know, doing the things that I thought plants needed, but plants are quite pernickety, you know. You actually have to pay attention to them individually. You need to look at the leaves and the soil, notice what each one needs, and watching how they respond to their environment. And during this research, I learned what many of you probably already know, that overwatering is the leading cause of death in houseplants. And then, of course, you need to identify the signs of overwatering and the insufficient watering. So then I needed to watch my plants. And I realised I'd been mindlessly dumping water. And in fact, one plant has been sitting in over an inch of water for I don't know how long. And, 2 plants weren't getting enough sun. There was another one with the roots exposed. One needed a different pot. One needed different soil, and so on. So every plant needed a different kind of care. And it was wonderful, though, because just in a few days I was beginning to see signs of improvement. Signs like the fruits of my labours were paying off. And instead of sorry, limp plants, I saw happy plants with bright green foliage, and it was a real success for me. And I'm sure it's not lost on you. The parallel was definitely not lost on me. If a simple house plant flourishes with individualized care and attention, how much more do our children? So in order to grow healthy kids, they need essential ingredients: the water, light and fertilizers of childhood. But children, like plants in particular, they need watching. We can't assume that what worked for one will work for the next. My children are so different. Vesper, who's nearly 7, is gregarious and adventurous and just a happy-go-lucky child and willing to try anything new. And Esme is shy and timid and more reticent about trying new things, and it takes her a while to warm up into the environment that she's in. And all these qualities we just learn to love about them, but we recognise them because we spent time and we've watched. The other thing with children is you can't just go home and then get on with your business. You have to be present and be with them. So when I lose one of my plants, it's not the end of the world, really. We move on. But children, on the other hand, they matter immensely. And they are infinitely complex human beings, but they are gifted to us to steward and to nurture. And the stakes are extremely high. And our calling to care for them is one of the greatest we'll ever receive in this life. And another verse I just wanted to look at was Galatians 6 verse 9, and it reminds us here, let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. So let's just remember 2 things this morning. 1, it's an honour to care for children, a deep and God-given calling with eternal ramifications. So, let's give child raising the appropriate honour and virtue it deserves, especially in a culture that can make us feel as if there are a million other things that are more important, things that need to get done, things that are way and above the time that you need to spend to nurture your children. There is nothing more important than putting that time in and nurturing. And number 2, let's watch our children and be willing to change things up. So if you ask my husband, I'm constantly watching, and I'm watching for the changes and the nuances. And when they were babies, I would be prepared, like, oh, that feeding schedule's not working, that sleeping schedule's not working, let's change things up a bit. And it's really good. I try and hold my theories and practices loosely so that I can move with them, and I can regularly evaluate each child to see what they need for the next season. And I don't always get it right, and I need to have patience with myself and patience with them. But the goal isn't the philosophy here. It's being able to watch and learn and grow our plants and our children, and to see them flourish because we've paid attention to their individual needs. So thankfully, much of parenting can be learned. So I was bad at plants, now I'm not so bad at plants. And the same can be said for parenting. We can get better and we can learn and we can grow and become good caretakers of the plants and the children who live in our homes. And it just takes some effort and bravery to get our hands dirty. So I just invite you this morning to get your hands dirty with your kids, and just see them as as God sees them, as this gift that is whole and full of value, and something that is just so precious to him that he has entrusted us with. And it's really, really important, I find, that when I'm feeling inadequate or I'm feeling unworthy of the task set before me, that I actually see myself as God's child. And I see the value that he places on me and the worth that he sets in me too. And that empowers me to be the best that I can be, not according to the world's standards or anyone else's standards, but to use the skills and the gifts that God has given me to be the best mum that I can be and parent this next generation of believers. So I hope that encourages you this morning, and we really look forward to sharing with you again on Life Connect and this afternoon on Church Connect. Thanks everyone. Bye for now.